Hi, Femtees. Doctora Yvette here. As we close out 2025, I'm taking a bit of a break, and I hope that you too are finding ways to rest. This week and next week's episode are both replays, and I'll be back in the new year with brand new episodes and conversations with guests. Today, I'm resharing an episode on Spoonie productivity during the holidays. It's intended for anyone navigating this holiday season with limited energy, chronic illness, disability, or more complicated cultural expectations. We talk about honoring your body and your values without constantly overextending yourself. I also talk about setting boundaries, delegating, adapting your traditions, and really getting clear on your non-negotiables. If the holidays tend to drain you, I really hope this episode allows you to give yourself permission to move more gently. All right, let's get into the replay. Do you feel pressured to do it all? Are you feeling torn or mixed feelings regarding finding ways to honor your culture, but also feeling like you have a limited capacity? Are you looking to find some ways or some strategies or some insights to better manage the busy holiday season? If so, then this episode is for you because today I'm going to be talking about all things Spoonie productivity during the holidays. I'll be sharing ways to honor your body, culture, and legacy with intention. Welcome to the award-winning Grad School Femtoring Podcast, the place for first-gen BIPOCs to listen in on inclusive grad school stories and learn about personal development and productivity tips. This is Doctora Yvette Martinez-Vu, a certified coach, consultant, and author, and I will be serving as your Femtor, providing you with insider knowledge to help you reach your personal and professional goals. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Grad School Femtoring Podcast. This is your host, Doctora Yvette. Today's episode is dedicated to all of my chronically ill, disabled, and or limited energy folks who are going into the holiday season feeling so incredibly exhausted, if not completely fatigued, and the season isn't even over yet. I feel like every single year for over a decade since I developed my first chronic illness, I have had so many mixed feelings about the holidays. For those of you that don't know, I come from a big Mexican family. And so the expectation every year is to get together with everybody, not just my immediate family, not just my siblings, but also my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, everybody and their mama gets together for the holidays. And even though it sounds like a lot of fun and it can be a lot of fun, when your body has limited energy, it can also be incredibly taxing. And this is the year, I think this is like the first year that I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't feel drained. I don't feel dread going into the holiday season. And that's because I've made some difficult decisions that are tied into me choosing authenticity, choosing to honor my body, and choosing to find different ways to honor my culture and legacy without burning myself out, without necessarily making myself sicker, and hopefully either avoiding or minimizing any flare ups. So I'll start with letting you know why I'm calling this episode Spoonie Productivity during the holidays. That phrase, Spoonie Productivity, I don't even know if anybody has coined it yet. I'll have to look into it. But I imagine that when I write my next book, which will be part how to, part personal development, and part memoir, it will have some sort of title related to that because so much of my life in adulthood has been shaped by experiencing chronic illnesses. And now that I'm aware of my neurodivergence, now that I'm aware of my high sensitivity, now that I am aware of being autistic, it matters even more to me to acknowledge that side of me, the fact that the word Spoonie calls attention to this term that a lot of us in the chronic illness community associate with this metaphor of measuring capacity. If you've never heard the word Spoonie, it's thinking, if you had a certain, I don't even know why it's spoons because it makes no sense. Why is it spoons versus forks versus knives? In any case, thinking about someone who has an unlimited or perhaps larger number of spoons during the day, they can do a lot more with that versus someone with a small number of spoons associated with the amount of energy that you have in any given day, doing something that might seem not as important, might seem minuscule, might seem sometimes even like something you don't even think twice about. That one thing can take someone out who has limited energy. So I'm thinking, for example, you might be used to showering every day. And I am like that now. But at one point, I couldn't shower every day. I physically could not shower every day. I physically could not stand up while showering. And know many folks to this day that still struggle with showering, and they shower once a week. Sometimes they have to delay showering even longer than them. They have to find new and creative ways to maintain their hygiene because of their limited capacity, because of their chronic illness or illnesses, and because of their disability. So this is all to say that when I think about Spoonie productivity, I think about these two terms, this term of calling attention to the fact that some of us don't have that much energy. And so we have to portion it out accordingly in ways that are important to us. We have to be more intentional about how we use our energy and our time because we can't just give it out to anything and everyone. That'll just make us sick before the holiday season even ends. And then the word productivity, I know for a lot of folks, you don't like the word productivity. I have a love-hate relationship with it. I know that it's associated with hustle culture and capitalism and neoliberalism. And it's literally calling attention to the act of producing. But when I think about the term productivity, I'm thinking about you producing an intended outcome. So you working towards the outcome that you want to get out of the holiday season. And to do that, you need to know what is important for you in your holiday season. So this is what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about how do we honor our bodies when we have limited capacity? How do we at the same time honor our cultures when the holiday season might have a lot of traditions that we want to make sure we uphold and pass on to the next generation? And similarly, how do we uphold our legacy so that things don't get lost as we try to honor our bodies and as we try to be intentional with how we spend our time? So, well, I'm going to start with saying a little bit more about the holiday season and how it's so often associated with like hyper productivity, hyper capitalism, hyper hustling. When I think about holiday season, I think about endless movies and commercials of people running around doing a million things. I don't think about people just chilling, sitting down and resting. I think about folks who are trying to get those holiday deals, trying to buy a million presents, trying to make all the meals, trying to host all the parties. And without it even starting, just watching a commercial or watching a holiday movie, I get exhausted. So there's this pressure that is placed on us externally to do it all. And I will tell you this. I will tell you that this pressure hasn't gone away from me. It hasn't. I just have set a lot more boundaries and I've made a lot of different decisions. But every single time that I am with my own family, I'm back in it, in that hustle culture, because they're still working within the system without calling it out, without drawing attention to it, without critiquing it, without changing it. And that's where I know that I differ. And that's why I stand out like a sore thumb and I am a little bit awkward. I am that one relative that not everybody talks to, and I'm okay with that because I would rather prioritize my authenticity than people pleasing like I used to do before. So in any case, I do feel it. I do, every time I talk to a relative and they're telling me about how they're doing a million things, how they have no time to rest, how they can barely take any time for themselves, I feel for them. And at the same time, I know that I have chosen a different path. And for me, honoring my body, honoring my peace is really important. And that means that I am not doing all the things and I am intentionally doing less and I'm okay with that. So instead of being the one that hosts a million parties, instead of trying to attend all of the gatherings, instead of buying every single person and their mama a gift, instead of being hyper productive, I am doing what is best for me. I am doing less. Yes, I actually am hosting. I'm hosting a get together, but I'm doing it my way. It's very small, very intimate, and on my terms. I am also attending a couple of gatherings, and I have decided which ones well in advance. So I actually this year chose not to travel for the holidays, which for many, many years I've always had to travel to get to different get-togethers to try to make it work with multiple families, balancing my partner's family with my family. And so this year we decided we're staying put, and that's what works for us. So hosting, you get to decide if you want to host. Attending gatherings, you get to decide which ones you want to attend. Even things like buying gifts. Giving gifts is not my love language, and receiving gifts is even less of a love language for me. So for me, it takes a lot of effort and I overthink and overanalyze any gifts that I give. But I do try to prioritize giving gifts to children because I understand that for many people, especially those of us that celebrate Christmas, the act of gift giving is one of those exciting moments for kids. So I'm choosing who to buy gifts, but unlike my mother, which in my family, my mom is known as Santa Rosi because she is like Santa. She gives everybody a gift. I don't even want to know how much she puts on her credit card each year to give everybody in the family a gift. And she's also called Santa Rosi because she is like a saint. My mom is probably the most generous person I know, the more self sacrificing person I know to her own fault. And as much as I love her, I adore her, I look up to her, I deeply respect her. I am not her. We are different people. So I'm not going to be Santa Yvette, but I am choosing selectively who I give gifts to this year. And I'm choosing not to be hyper productive. Even thinking through, some folks are trying to do the holiday deals and they're trying to get folks to work with them and they're trying to do trying to squeeze as much as they can out of the year at the end of the year. And for me, I'm trying to preserve my energy because this is hibernation mode for me. The winter time, the winter season is a time that my body naturally wants to slow down. And I have to honor that because I am even more susceptible to flaring up this time of year than any other time. So, yeah, I just wanted to call attention to this pressure. If you're feeling the pressure to do it all, know that a lot of us are feeling it and that you don't have to do it all. And then I'm thinking too, if you are someone who comes from a culture that prioritizes collectivity, if you are first gen, if you're a child of immigrants, you might feel this pressure compounded because not only do you feel this pressure at home, but then you're also feeling the pressure at school, you're feeling the pressure at work, where you're feeling the pressure to overachieve and to do your best and to get straight A's and to get that promotion. That's a lot. That is a lot. I am not surprised when people tell me they're so busy and they're so tired because it's understandable. Everything is set up for us to be exhausted. And then if you Like I mentioned earlier, if you're a spoonie, if you have limited capacity or limited energy, you're probably also experiencing more pain than usual. You're probably also experiencing more feelings of sensory overwhelm than other times. And this is hard. I mean, I recently attended a family get together, and my sister told me, "Oh, I could tell that you were overwhelmed. Like, I can totally tell that you were struggling." And I told her, "You know what? I think that's a good thing that you can tell because I am trying my best to mask less. And as soon as I notice something, instead of just trying to push through, I'm trying to accommodate myself. And so it might seem more visible if I'm overwhelmed because maybe I'm wearing headphones or maybe I am choosing to take some time to be on my own to get some space or you name it, whatever it is that I do that I naturally do to accommodate myself in public spaces. I do that now instead of trying to just suck it up and push through and then deal with the ramifications or the consequences later. Okay, I wanted to mention that for those of us that are spoonies, it's a harder season in general. And not only are there changes in our bodies because of the change in the weather, some of us are more sensitive to changes in barometric pressure. Some of us are more susceptible to changes in the weather. We might feel actually worse. Our bodies might feel worse with cooler weather. It really depends. I know I'm someone who's sensitive to big changes in the weather, whether it's extreme heat or extreme cold. Anytime there's a substantial shift in the weather, my body feels it. So keep that in mind that the folks around you, even if you're not a spoonie, might be dealing with these challenges silently. And some folks don't accommodate themselves and they don't do what they need to do to take care of themselves because some folks don't even realize it. They're just so used to living in pain. They're so used to living in this hustle culture and being so busy that they don't even think twice about the fact that that pain that they experience regularly is not something that they have to live with. It has become common, but it doesn't mean that it makes it okay. Now, let's talk about finding ways to actually honor your body because, I told you all the different ways that you could be impacted by the holiday season and by hustle culture and by this busy time of year. But what can you actually do about it? One thing that I recommend, and this is related to so many things, like anytime someone's making a big decision in their life, I tell them, you need to figure out your non negotiables. The same is true about the holiday season, no matter what holidays you and your family and your loved ones celebrate. It's good to think about, well, what are my non negotiables right now? What are the traditions or the activities that are incredibly meaningful to you that you wanna keep doing? What are the things that you want to do that are tied back to your core values and to your culture and to your legacy that are important for you to keep doing? One example for me is that I am big on authenticity. That is one of my core values, and this year, more than ever, it's important for me to prioritize spending time with people with whom I feel like I can be my full self around. I don't necessarily care for anymore spending time with extended family members who I have never truly had a good relationship with. I've never had a genuine, real, honest conversation with them. So it means that I might seem like a distant relative to some people, but to the folks that matter, they know that I'm there. They know that I'm going to show up. So, authenticity and carving out moments with folks who allow me to be my full self, that's really important. I also value peace and calm. And so, as much as I think it's important to maintain family traditions and certain aspects of our culture, I will also be the first one to critique it if it doesn't work, to critique it if it's patriarchal, if it's colonizing, if it's something that just I can't help but not like. So for me, it's important to maintain traditions and also create your own traditions. So with my kids, since I'm a parent, I do like to do holiday related events. And I do like to maintain some of that wonder and that fun and that joy of the holiday season. But I also have to keep in mind, hold up, hold up. I have chronic illnesses. Hold up, hold up. I have long haul symptoms. Hold up, hold up. I can't afford to get COVID again, or at least I really would not like to get COVID again. So, what can we do? Do we stay secluded in our house all the time? No, that's not realistic for us either. But it means attending fewer events. It means when we do go to events, going at times when it's less crowded. It means setting aside time and activities with folks for whom the sacrifice is worth it. So that's how we're compromising. All this to say that I want you to think for yourself, not about what I'm doing, because you're not me, because there's no cookie cutter way of working towards the outcome that you want, because our outcomes for the holiday season are probably very different. So instead, think for yourself, well, what are my non negotiables this holiday season? What do I absolutely want to prioritize? And what would be okay to leave out this year? Because that's where things have changed in a really, really good way for me, is that I've chosen to leave out a lot of things that I did before because I felt obligated to do them. And then after developing long haul symptoms, I realized what truly mattered. That was a big reality check that I needed to be like, you know what? I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. I don't need to see that person. I don't need to see that person. I don't need to do things the way everybody else is doing. I need to find the things that work for me. I need to meet up with the people that love me and honor me and vice versa. So there you have it. I also want to share some other ways for you to take care of yourself during the holidays. One thing that I recently did in my last trip is I need to make sure when I travel in particular, but you can do this anytime, including the holiday season, is anytime you have big events coming up, make sure you schedule rest before, during, and after those big events. I'm trying to think back. Previous years when I was still dealing with internalized ableism, and that's not to say that I don't still deal with that. I do still deal with internalized ableism, but I'm working more and more towards reducing it. But when it was that much more prevalent, I just tried to do all the things. And I was like, okay, I'll pay for it later, but whatever, I'm just going to do it. So I tried to do a million things per day. I had no boundaries. I just wanted to please everybody. And that meant that I would almost always get sick, like literally get sick, a cold, a flu. This is like before COVID started, getting bronchitis and all kinds of nasty, nasty, nasty things during the holiday season. And then I would also flare up. I'd have like the worst stomach issues. I'd get a lot more migraines. And I just normalized it. I thought, you know what? This is just part of the process. This is just what comes with it. And I just have to deal with it. I mean, I would always say, just suck it up, just deal with it, just push through. And I realized that those internal sayings were not helping me. They were actually making me sicker. So now, instead of suck it up and push through, where can I schedule in rest? What can I let go of so that I can make time to rest? How can I make sure to reduce my likelihood of flare ups? Those are the questions that I'm thinking. How can I honor myself? How can I honor my body? What do I need right now to take care of myself? Because I sometimes forget when I get so caught up being with people. I forget to drink liquids. I forget to eat the foods that I know that nourish me. I forget to get enough sleep. So I have to ask myself regularly, what do I need? What do I need? Where can I schedule in rest? Or what can I say no to say yes to myself? And that comes with setting boundaries too. And this is the part that uncomfortable to say and uncomfortable to experience is that once you start to set more boundaries, you're going to start to get some people upset or mad, or they're just not going to be pleased with you because they're so used to you saying yes to everything. They're so used to you being agreeable all the time. And so for me, it means, yes, I am disappointing people in choosing to not attend all the things. And it is what it is. So for me, what does that look like in terms of setting boundaries? That means maybe choosing to attend events, but choosing to attend for a certain period of time or a certain number of hours. Or maybe this year, this is not for me, but like, let's say this year, if you're someone who has always hosted a big event or a big holiday meal, etc., you could ask to host it at another family's home because you know how much it takes a toll on you to do all the work of hosting. Or maybe this year you change up a tradition. I remember actually in one year in the past, in my family, we celebrate Noche Buena. So that means that everybody gets together and stays up until midnight, and then the kids open presents. And there was one year that the children got to open presents earlier. Everybody decided, all the adults decided together that the children would open up presents instead of at midnight earlier. So that way we could all end earlier. And that was really nice. I don't know that that's happened since because I wasn't there last year, but that was a really nice thing that we did. And I thought, oh, this would be great to have as a way to both honor our tradition and at the same time honor our energy levels and the kids' energy levels. And with setting boundaries, this also means having to say no to things that drain your energy and no to things that don't align with your capacity. So you need to ask yourself, what are the things that I need to say no to say yes to myself? This year, I always hesitate to say these things out loud, even though I know that I have folks who listen to this podcast across the spectrum in terms of where they are with their relationship with their family. I have a very, let's just say, complicated relationship with my family in that I am not no contact, but I'm not also the person that's there 24/7. I do have a geographic boundary around me in that I'm not super duper geographically close to them. And I have a lot of boundaries around my family. I love my family members and I'm close to a certain set of people and they know who they are and they know how much I love them. But in any case, I know some of y'all are like completely in no contact with your family members. And I know some of y'all are so incredibly close to your family members. Like you're living with them, you love them, you adore them. So no matter where you are on the spectrum, I get a little bit nervous saying this out loud. But for me, this year, I decided, you know what? I'm saying no to the Thanksgiving holiday with my extended family all together. And I've chosen that because I just got tired of showing up every year to the same holiday. And the only thing that I could eat was the thing that I brought because I have my own food intolerances and dietary restrictions. And I don't expect anybody to make anything for me because of these restrictions. I know it's hard enough to make any meal for the holidays. But I just got tired of not having options and then being around family members that I wasn't excited to be around, or folks who would make snarky comments or folks who would say things to my kids that I wasn't in agreement with. I just got tired of being around people who, even though they're blood relatives, I felt like they were strangers to me. And so I decided, you know what? I'm not doing that. It has been a difficult choice. And it also brings me so much peace, and I feel really good about that decision. So there's that. Another way to honor your body is to start delegating tasks wherever possible. I know I've said this multiple times, and I'm going to keep saying this over and over again that I don't do it all. I don't. So for family holidays, I don't cook all the meals. In fact, my partner cooks a lot more than I do, and he cooks more items than I do, and I'm okay with that. He's got his things he cooks, I have the things that I cook, and we all kind of split the chores equitably, not equally, equitably. My kids do chores. I come from a family with a self-sacrificing single mama who did it all, including things that she didn't have to do, but she never asked my brothers to do things like cook or clean. And she always felt responsible for doing that. And that is not me. That is not the way that I'm raising my kids. I'm raising them to do chores. I'm raising them to cook. I'm raising them to learn basic life skills and to learn about how we all help each other out. You can't just expect someone to do everything for you. Your mom's not going to do everything for you. Your dad's not going to do everything for you. Your sibling's not going to do everything for you. We all have to do things for ourselves and for each other. So that's how I honor my body, is delegating wherever possible. And so for me, it's important to remind you to ask yourself, well, what has happened in the past that stressed me out during the holiday season? What has happened in the past that made me sick or flare up? And is there any way that you can learn from that experience to do things differently this year? Especially if you are a spoonie, especially if you have limited capacity, you don't have to do things the way that other people do it. You don't have to do things at all, because it is an incredible privilege to even be able to get up and walk. It is a privilege to even be able to go out and attend a gathering. It is a privilege to be able to be in community in person with others. And so if this year is a year that you only have the energy and the capacity to stay home and invite maybe a couple of loved ones who you love and trust, then so be it. Because we have to honor ourselves, especially if we want to be around for the long term. Now, I also want to mention the importance of finding ways to connect with our culture and our legacy, and to do it on our terms, because I can't not say that. As someone from a big Mexican family, food, traditions, legacy, that's incredibly important. But what happens when these traditions also are in conflict with your existence and your ability to sustain yourself? What do you do then? For me, it has meant participating in traditions at my own pace. So instead of doing things in the big, grand ways that I once was able to do them, now it means doing them in smaller ways. That might mean making fewer dishes. That might mean engaging in quieter celebrations. That might mean having more intimate events. And that's okay. That might also mean adapting all the different traditions that you love and that you have from your youth or from your childhood, but adapting them in ways that fit your capacity. So, for instance, during the holiday season, one of the things that I have always loved to do, this is usually in October, is go to the pumpkin patch with my kids. I love it. There's something about going out, choosing a pumpkin, walking around, getting some cider or donuts or whatever, you can get. And for me, that means, I can't have much gluten. I can't have a lot of sugar. It impacts me. It knocks me out pretty much, or makes me really lightheaded. It's not great. So when we go out, I'm like, okay, instead of doing all the things, instead of doing all the mazes and walking around a lot, it means I do what I can. I try to stay in the shade. I bring a hat. I maybe don't have any of the cider or the donuts, or I have this very small amount of it. I accommodate myself. And we go during off hours or during dates that it's not as busy, like I mentioned earlier. So that's me adapting a tradition that has been fun and important to me, that's memorable for my kids. And, similarly, I mentioned we celebrate Christmas, and I mentioned that example before, my family having the kids open up presents earlier. I love that. I love, love, love that. And that is something that we do now as well, as we make sure that the kids get presents and that they can open them at a time that works for us. That means, my husband, he grew up Christian, and he did grow up celebrating Christmas, but he never grew up waiting on Christmas Eve till midnight to open up presents. So for him, he grew up first thing Christmas morning opening up presents. And so for us, we found ways to adapt. So that way we're not having the kids open up presents too late where we're all really tired, or too early Christmas morning where I'm symptomatic and not feeling my best. So you just figure it out. You figure it out for yourselves. You find ways to adapt to fit your needs. And what's the last thing that I want to say tied to this? I really just want to remind you that you don't have to sacrifice your health and well-being to honor your legacy. And if anything, you can gain so much in adapting and accommodating yourself. And especially when you remind yourself that this is a way for you to be able to do this long term. This is a way for you to make sure that you can preserve yourself so that you can be around for a long time. I would much rather do these smaller, more intimate, more intentional gatherings and events and be able to do this for as long as I can remember, and then do them for a short period of time, stress myself out, make myself sick, and the next thing you know, my lifespan is shorter than I hoped. And none of this is medical advice, right? So I'm not a medical doctor. You get to decide what you do in terms of how you nourish yourself, in terms of how active you are, in terms of what you do that you know that is going to prioritize your well-being. But it is a reminder that these two things don't have to coincide. You don't have to sacrifice your health to have a good holiday season. You don't have to sacrifice your well-being to uphold your culture and your traditions. Now, the last thing I want to leave you with is that I do think it's important to gently call yourself in when you notice your own tendencies to want to either be perfectionistic or ableist during the holiday season, when you're like, oh no, it has to be this way, or oh no, I have to do it this way. I have to suck it up and deal with it. Call yourself in, remind yourself, hold up. Do I absolutely have to do things this way? Hold up. Do I absolutely have to be this stressed? Do I have to absolutely do all these things that I'm saying that I have to do? Because trust me, if you get really, really sick, everything else is going to go out the window. And you're going to be reminded that you don't absolutely have to do all of these things. And also remind yourself that less is more, that things can be easy, that you can prioritize your peace this holiday season, that you can choose quality over quantity in terms of events, in terms of how many things you show up for, in terms of gatherings and all the things that you choose to do. And then, of course, I also want to remind you that it's important for us to reframe productivity as working towards the intentional outcome that we want. So what is it that you want this holiday season? Especially for my Spoonies, what is important for you? Is it to prioritize rest? Is it to prioritize connection? Is it to prioritize recovery? Is it to prioritize slowing down? Is it to prioritize reflection? Is it to prioritize moments with the people that matter most to you? You get to decide how to celebrate the holidays in ways that work in tandem with upholding your well-being, your values, and your culture. That's it for this episode. Please, please, please remind yourself that you don't have to succumb to all the external pressures. Some of them, of course, you might choose to because it's important to you. But everything that you do, remember you have a choice. And that at the end of the day, you want to make sure that you're okay this holiday season. I hope that you found this episode helpful. And as always, I'll talk to you all next time. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, here are 3 ways you can support the show. The first is to make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. The second way is to get your copy of my free resource kit linked in my show notes. This kit includes tools, worksheets, and podcast playlists on all things grad school, productivity, and personal development. The third way to support my show is to follow me on social media. You can find me on Instagram with the handle @Grad School Femtoring and on LinkedIn by searching my name. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.